Hello and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. It's 7 in the morning, I'm out in the garden. It's been a busy couple of weeks and I figure I'll give you an update on the garden. So we're going to do a garden tour today. This is the time of year when the garden is just in full throttle. And there's really like 3 or 4 things I focus on. They are 1, harvesting above weeding, above anything else. And I talked about this a little bit about how to continue to enjoy your garden when you get to this stage, when everything's a forest. 2, processing. This is the time, August and September, even October for me is the time when I am making all my jams and pickles, and I'm freezing tomatoes and I'm making tomato sauce. And this year I have enough tomatoes to actually make tomato sauce. Yeah, so harvesting, processing, and that includes for cooking, daily meals, enjoying the food fresh, not just preserving it, but actually just eating it, enjoying it, find ways to use it. Little recipes here and there. Every day for lunch, I have some of the vegetables from my garden over rice. Just a great way to use it. And then 3rd is getting ready for the fall and winter garden. So I am starting up seedlings that I'll be showing you, and sort of part of succession planting. So there's just a lot going on this time of year and can't wait to show you. Let's get started. So this is the front yard of my home. I have, every year for the last few years, I've had volunteer zinnias in the front of my garden. I grow zinnias, and every year I end up with a plant right around here, so I just leave it. And it's nice for cutting, and it's easier access sometimes than the rest of this garden. I will say one thing about the chokeweed. Although it isn't great for my plants, the bees really do love it. So I feel a little less bad when I haven't kept up with keeping it weeded, because it is a nice food source for the bees late in the summer. I've also been harvesting calendula pretty much all year. I started these from seed out here. They were slow to get started compared to if I winter sowed them, but they've lasted all summer, and I've been saving the flowers for my medicinal, my bug balm, and other recipes. And then you can also see we still have some cosmos. I think those are the Memories of Mona cosmos blooming. And this really beautiful peach zinnia that's put up a good number of flowers this year. Oh, that one's really pretty. I think this might be the same ones I'm growing. Actually, this is more of a peachy color than the ones I'm growing on the other side over there. Black-eyed Susans are getting near to the end of their season. They're still blooming, and I had to pull out a bunch of chokeweed. I still got tons more in here, but to try to give them more sunlight. My thyme bush, which was one plant 2 years ago, is just massive. In fact, I had to cut it back. It was basically blocking the pathway. I'm excited that even though I haven't been deadheading them, the sunflowers, well, that one's doing a little better. The sunflowers that I've grown are both still producing sunflowers. I'm going to try to save seeds from that one in particular because it's done such a good job of just sending up tons of flowers. So I think I'm going to grow sunflowers in this bed every year. It adds a nice high splash of color as you're driving by. This here is stevia, and I need to actually harvest it and try it because I heard someone say that the stevia actually doesn't have that weird aftertaste that the processed stevia does. And then check out this pokeweed in front of our window. I will show you a clip right now of a mockingbird and its baby eating the berries from this. It's really neat to see from the window. And it actually has a kind of pretty cool view with it when it starts turning pink like this and the berries. It looks pretty cool from the street. So I'm glad I'm growing it, or letting it grow. And this is one of the coxcomb that I grew in this container. Coxcomb, this is a really beautiful, I don't know if you could tell in this light, but it's a really beautiful, vibrant pink, magenta almost. And then down here we have some celosia along with mindweed and globe amaranth, or gomphrena. I love growing globe amaranth. And this is a flower that is definitely, oh, we got a double head here. Look at that. Of one. Maybe I'll save the seeds from that. See if we can get more to grow that way, like the fasciated blossom type thing. Also over here, the Persian basil that I've been growing, it smells so good, is doing beautiful. It creates these beautiful flower heads. It tastes like Thai basil. I think they're kind of the same thing. It usually is more of a combined flower head, but still having some Thai basil and even just the scent of it from the garden is so nice. Speaking of volunteers, look at this celosia growing here. I'm just kind of letting it grow here. It looks cool. It's doing great. I love volunteers. They're so awesome. My husband said he saw some goldfinches out here eating the echinacea seeds, which is one reason I love growing these, is to help feed the local wildlife seeds instead of having to buy them seeds. This is also the time of year to start saving seeds. My milkweed has pods that should be opening probably within a week or so. I'm going to save, this is butterfly milkweed that I'm going to save the pod seeds of and give away to people. I have so many seeds left from last year too. But this is the time, as a fourth thing to do, is to start harvesting seeds and saving them if you want to. So I pride myself, and I do my best, on being open and honest with you. And part of that is being honest about me not having transplanted out a whole bunch of seedlings I grew that are natives, in fact, many of them. And they've sort of been kept alive by this tray having water in it, but it includes milkweed, mullein, which I'm actually going to try to transplant out this week because I do want to have another harvest for next year. There's a lavender growing out of here. So just so you know, can't get everything done all at once. Something's going to fall behind. Having 2 community garden plots this year versus 1, really, and putting more focus on the front garden, I just did a lot less for my native beds this year. But that said, the native beds that I did plant last year are doing really well. Let's see. This is anise hyssop, and look, the bees are just loving it. Every morning they're out here enjoying these flower herbs. So fantastic to see. I really do love this plant. The mist flower that's reseeded from last year is coming up, is finally blooming. I got it blooming nice and strong in the front yard too. The New England asters are kind of near the end of their season, still some coming out. And then this is cardinal flower, which is also doing really well on this side of my garden. So let's go look at that. Look at that beautiful cardinal flower. Oh, and I tell you what, looking from my kitchen window, which is right there, I have a beautiful view of this cardinal flower, which also is being visited by a lot of pollinators. Now my raspberry plants are putting out another flush, and these are really delicious, but these, yeah. So we're getting a little more raspberries. I don't think it'll be like the spring harvest, and they're kind of harder to get to. I need to come out and harvest some. But let's see. I tell you what, there's nothing as delicious as a fresh picked raspberry. Okay, I say that about most of my fruit and vegetables I grow, but that's good stuff. Another volunteer I didn't expect to have this year, which is in the backyard. I didn't think it'd get enough sun, but it's this spider, these flowers. I grew them in the front yard for 2 years in a row. They're really great. And actually this is a good place for them because they can spread out and not take over that tiny bed I have in the front. They're doing really amazing. And it's also a nice view from my window to look out and see the shed and see these flowers growing. Mist flower over here is also going crazy. Now this garden, I have not done a lot to maintain it this year. So I'm gonna have to do some real work labeling things by the end of the season and trimming back. And I think we also have some poison ivy back there I need to deal with because I don't want the dogs bringing it inside. So a lot of work ahead for me, but all in all, it's been a pretty good year for this garden. All right, now let's head out to the community garden plots. So this is plot, one of 2 plots that I rent, and at a community garden I rent from the county. And this year I've run across an encounter that a lot of gardeners do, but I haven't had this problem as much before, which is poison ivy. I sat down next to some poison ivy on an overturned milk crate that I usually use for my little stool, and I got poison ivy all over myself. I went to the beach with poison ivy. It wasn't great, and I'm currently on antibiotics and prednisone for it. But it's affected a little bit about where I can grow because it grew in some of the beans that I was growing, so I kind of have to harvest and pull up all the beans just because I don't want to risk if the aerosol or whatever the oil is it's on lima beans got on my green beans. It's not really worth risking ingesting, so I'm going to pull up that. But there's still lots of good stuff going on. Okay, so this is the beginning of sort of my fall garden. These are edamame that I've grown. So there's some that I started just last week that, planted the seeds of just last week, and they're starting to sprout. And then these were probably 3 weeks ago, and they're about 80 to 90 days, about 80 days. And in the fall, you get less sun hours. So I probably won't get something till October for edamame. which is soybeans basically that you can eat steamed. But I've tried a couple different varieties that I'll show a little clip of, but I'm really excited because this is what I do every year in the fall is I grow some edamame beans. Oops. I'm bringing my basket with me and my bottle of water. These are Urfa Bieber peppers. I think they're supposed to turn colors before I harvest them. Got some poblanos, which I've been harvesting. I have a few at home already that I need to, roast up, that I need to char and eat. Okay, now check out these massive Sweet Peaks long peppers. And look at this thing. Look at this one. Now I'm waiting till they turn colors because I think they're supposed to be like yellow and reds and oranges. So I'm gonna wait. But oh man, I can't wait to harvest these when they get ripe. These are baby bell peppers, and this is about as big as they get right here. And they just snap them off like that. I could leave them on and let them turn red, which is what they will do, but they taste good this way. And whoops, you can see they're setting new fruit because I've been trying to consistently pick them. And they're great. You just cut them into like 4 pieces. Now, what's interesting with these is they actually have a lot of seeds. Like the core for the seeds comes like almost down to where you see that indent. So if you want to save seeds for these, you 100% could save a lot of seeds by just saving a few of the peppers. But the flesh is nice, and when you cut them up, they're really great quartered and put into salads. Now, this is a pepper that's supposed to be a Bulgarian carrot pepper. And I'm waiting for it to turn because it's supposed to turn a beautiful carrot orange. This is my shishito plant set. I have harvested so many shishito peppers this year from this 4 or 5 plants. We're having blistered and roasted, and I love shishitos. So if you like shishitos and you like to eat them, they're a really easy, prolific, early producer. I think I was eating shishitos before I was eating any other pepper. Now you don't want them to get, I've noticed that if they get too big, that their seeds, they get a lot more seeds. And then when you roast them or blister them in a pan, they're not quite as good. So I like to get them a little bit on the younger side. Now this is a pepper I grew last year that still have some of the dried pepper flakes from. It's called Thunder Mountain Pepper. And it grows these really long, fingery, narrow peppers that'll turn a dark red, and you let it dry on the vine a little bit. Once it gets this dark red color, it'll turn a bright red. And then you let it dry on a plate. There's very little flesh inside. It's mostly seeds and outside. But what you do is you let it dry on the plate, and then you grind it up into pepper flakes. And this is like my new favorite red pepper flake, like spicy red pepper flakes, to put in recipes, especially like my Asian sort of Szechuan type recipe, or anything you want just a little bit of kick. And I've noticed that the batch from last year that I saved, the heat has definitely diminished over the year of just sitting in a jar. So I'm gonna have to be careful when I have a new batch to not be as gung-ho with the older batch as I am with this one. But this is just a fun pepper to grow. It looks so cool. I'm just gonna grow it every year. And I grew these from saved seeds this year. This is a Shar pepper, finally getting one to start turning colors. I'm gonna look up how much I'm supposed to let it actually turn, but now that it's already starting to turn, it'll probably continue. I guess they're called Shar because they have the wrinkled face, kind of like a Shar dog. It's pretty cool looking. Well, I thought I was growing giant jalapenos this year, but I haven't gotten a bunch of giant ones, but I am getting jalapenos consistently. What's strange is this year they have no heat. They are completely heatless. And either I'm harvesting them too early, or maybe some seeds got mixed up. And they taste good. I'm gonna try leaving some till they turn red. I'm gonna try leaving these 2 till they turn red and see if it makes a difference in how hot it gets. We have had hot weather, which usually helps, but the rain, when peppers don't go through a little bit of a drought, they don't get as hot. So we've had sort of a mixed bag on rain this year, where we didn't have rain for a long time, and then we had a ton all at once. All right, so confession time. I was horrible about trellising my tomatoes this year. I started off good, and I just didn't do very well at it. So I have been doing the Where's Waldo with my tomatoes this year, with them growing just about all along the ground. And you know, tomatoes don't have to be trellised. The reason you trellis them is to reduce disease. Oh, I think I see one. Oh yeah, this one. Oh, this might be too far along. Let's see. Well, no, that's been eaten through and I can see it's hollow. We'll leave that. That's the other thing. Critters can get to it. Now this one is starting to turn, and I think I might go ahead and harvest it. Oh, I might leave it another day. This is the challenge. If you harvest it early, the critters won't get to it. But I don't have that bad of a critter problem in this garden, knock on wood. The other one, I have a pretty aggressive vole. Here's a lemon boy. And then this is what's called, this is my fuzzy blue balls tomato, and I'll show you inside they're actually yellow when they ripen, but they have this cool purple on them when they get the sun on them. Now we're gonna have rain this afternoon, so that's one reason I'm out this morning, because if your tomatoes are ripe or pretty close to ripe, they're kind of like they're kind of stretched as tight as they can get, and they will burst and split on you like this one has here. And while they can be eaten when they've split, they rot a lot faster. So, and they just don't, yeah, they don't have a stable shelf life. I think these are Bangway wild cherry tomatoes. All right, here's a couple onions I'm gonna pull. They're definitely ready to pull. Now these are not big bulbs, but I am happy to get, small as it is, any size bulb. This one might have rotted out already a little bit. Find out. Well, if you thought the other plot was a forest, if the other one was a forest, this is the Amazon. It is crazy. Luckily, I haven't seen any poison ivy yet in this garden, not that it can't exist. And I've been terrible at trellising, so the Asian longbeans have taken over one of the Roma tomato trellises over there. So a lot of the tomatoes have diseases, but I have been less aggressive about pruning this year. This is a Ukrainian purple tomato that has struggled more than any other plant I have with blossom end rot. I think just the plant struggled with disease from the beginning. My Jimmy Nardello peppers are finally starting to turn red. Oh, they're such a nice sweet pepper. Down here, let's see if I got it before it started rotting. Oh, darn it. This is a tomato I've had a real problem with this year. I've wanted to get a ripe one. And this one's been here long enough. I've tried saving them and putting them in the fridge and cutting off the bad end, but it just doesn't work. These take too long to ripen. These are mushroom basket tomatoes. I got these in a trade with somebody. All right, I'm gonna harvest this one now. This is the closest to not having rotted and starting to turn colors. We'll see if we have luck. I have been fighting with the vole for access. Like, look here. This is one that's still on the vine, but he's been taste testing it. But that's okay. That's part of living in nature and growing in nature. Now these Romas have done good ripening once I take them inside. That's probably a little too early to harvest them, but again, either I do this or I don't and the vole gets them. Check these out. We'll talk about flowers a little bit here. These are white marigolds, and they were the last to bloom, but they really are beautiful. They're great for flower arrangements. I was terrible this year, and I did my golden amaranth. I did not harvest in time. So we're gonna have a ton of amaranth baby seedlings next year. It was cool to grow, but lesson learned, I'm gonna grow them in the back of the garden next year so they don't block out the sun, because I'm getting a lot less eggplants this year than I have in the past, partly because the sun blocked them out so much. Oh, nice, this is getting a decent size. This is one of those purple peppers, bell peppers. This is the best looking one I've grown so far. Okay, here's the back part of the forest. This is my experimental corn, which I can almost guarantee you I won't get any full heads because it just really hasn't been enough corn to really get the kernels all pollinated, but we'll find out. And I've been bad about weeding it, and I know corn doesn't do well with that. But over here, and you could probably see it better from outside the fence, is loofah gourd growing, and Christmas lima bean. Let's see if we can get over there and get some Christmas lima bean pods. I see some growing up there. Okay, I don't see any loofah gourds back here yet, but I see lots of Christmas lima beans. Oh, look at that. Let's open that pot up all the way. One-handed. Woo! Look how pretty they are, like cranberry colors. All right, so I'm just back from the garden, which we just filmed. Here's my current tomato setup space. I had got these baskets from like the Dollar Tree. And these are mushroom basket tomatoes you saw at the garden. Finally gonna get to try a ripe one. Oh, I've had a hard time getting them to ripen on the vine and not rot or have bugs get into them. But I've got some nice lemon boys and purple heart tomatoes that are ripening here. Where is this? These are the fuzzy blue balls tomatoes. Romas, these are a hybrid that I really wanted to have sauce tomatoes this year. I'm keeping these out because I'm gonna make salsa tonight. And then this is sort of my not ripe basket yet, which I keep them on a towel in case there's any juice coming out. And every night what I'll do is I will take the tomatoes and I'll figure out what's kind of at the very, very ripe. And I will slit, I'm not gonna do it here, but I'll just basically cut a crosshatch X shape across the tops of these so that the skin has a way to slough off when it thaws. This is a freezer we bought at the beginning of the pandemic. And in here I have about 4.5 bags of frozen Roma tomatoes and other tomatoes from my garden. You can see, for example, here you can see how I cut off a part of it because some of it was getting spots. So the idea is that I will eventually thaw all of these and then make tomato sauce with it. But this allows me to not have to worry about doing it in one set time. And I can come back to it this fall or in a month or two. Basically when my freezer has no more space probably is when I'll do it. Which is getting pretty close, I think. In the house, I have some seedlings started already. I started these mid-July, I think, early to mid-July. I didn't put it in my garden journal, which I should have. It includes monstro or large spinach, purple or white kohlrabi. I'm guessing this is going to be purple based on the color of the leaves. Some more of the spinach, broccoli rabe. Let's see, red Russian kale, Waltham broccoli, Maruba Santo Chinese cabbage, which was really good, that I harvested this spring. I'm going to transplant that out soon, I think. Some more purple and white kohlrabi, red acre cabbage over here. Today, I'm going to fill some cells with potting mix and start some lettuce, because although you can start lettuce, you can grow lettuce this time of year, the soil's just too hot for it to germinate, I've heard. So I'm going to try starting some lettuce indoors and then transplanting out in a few weeks. Hopefully at the beginning of September, when hopefully the heat will be a little bit less extreme and they'll be less likely to bolt, which is probably about the time I'll be transplanting these out in 2 weeks or so. And then this is sort of my station of stuff that I've canned. So this year I've made tart cherry jam. I made a peach bourbon jam that I'm going to buy more peaches and make more of, because we had about 10 jars. I'm giving a bunch away, and my husband and I, this is my new favorite jam, by the way. It's in the bulk book. It has ginger, peach, bourbon, and you don't taste the ginger. It's just so good. And then this is tomato jam, using my mom's recipe. I didn't use quite enough pectin because her recipe wasn't clear about it. So I should have used 2 containers of pectin, but it still tastes really good. If you've never had tomato jam, try making it, and I'd be happy to share my mom's recipe as well. Although I don't know that it's full canning standards because she uses fresh lemon juice instead of concentrate, which, you know, is a little bit more risky, but I'm willing to do it to try mom's authentic recipe a first time. Down here, I have from last year, I have some pickled jalapenos left. I have a jar of cherry pie filling from last year. I'll probably have that for fall or Christmas pie. Some of my grandma's pickled green bean recipe. Now, I made it, but it's using her recipe. Now this, I have been able to make 2 pasta sauce jars. They're still a little bit watery, but I had to basically cook the tomatoes down by half. So this was like that whole basket I showed you. That was like how much tomatoes ended up in just these 2 jars. This is precious. My goal in gardening is to, for tomatoes especially, is to have enough tomatoes to have as many fresh tomatoes as I want for sandwiches, for on top of salads, for making a quick pasta sauce, any of that stuff. But I want to have enough that I can actually make some jars of tomato sauce. And this year I've had enough tomatoes. Goal achieved. I've had enough tomatoes to make 2 jars of sauce, and I'm hoping with the Roma tomatoes that I've now frozen and I'm going to be processing later this year that I'll be able to get at least 1 to 2 more jars of tomato sauce, and maybe a little bit thicker than this out. That's exciting. And then I've been doing some pressure canning. This is a while ago, but in December I pressure canned some black beans. I have some pickled beets left, some cowboy candy from 21. This is the last jar of cowboy candy, which is basically candied jalapenos. So I might actually need to make more jalapeno cowboy candy, but it took 2 years to go through one batch. So it's something I'll probably make every 2 years. So that's an overview of what we have left for canned goods. And I'm really grateful that this year the garden is producing as well as it has. Overall, I'm having a pretty good success. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to talk more about these things. It's all kind of a fast overview, but hope to talk more about this stuff in the future. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.